And this data is also very richly structured. There is over 600 dimensions, metrics, and goal values in every session. And the data can also be collected at very granular scale, at the level of sessions, hits within sessions, or even events within every hit. So this wealth of data clearly has tremendous value for the businesses who own this data. And our goal in Google Analytics is to help businesses drive more value out of their business data. Now, when we think about challenges that businesses face, the biggest one happens to be complexity. In GA, we offer a wide range of powerful tools and reports that enable you to analyze and slice and dice your data in many, many different ways. And if you have used GA, this picture might look familiar to you. That this power of all these reports and tools comes at the cost of increased complexity. There's literally too many dimensions, metrics, and reports to analyze. And this ultimately makes it difficult for businesses to drive value and ultimately action from their data. So in GA, we want to help businesses overcome this challenge of complexity. And here's a high-level view of how we are thinking about this. How we are thinking about the different levels of analytics as intelligence increases, as model complexity increases. So at the very bottom level, we have descriptive analytics, which is about understanding what happened in the past. And on top of that, the root cause of the things that happened, why those things happened in the past, which is the domain of diagnostic analytics. Once we have an understanding of the past, we also want to understand the future and be able to predict what will happen in the future, which is the domain of predictive analytics. And based on these predictions, we want to know how and what actions to take to get to the desired outcomes that we have for our business. So you can see that with increasing level of intelligence, you're getting closer and closer to action. So taking action becomes easier and faster, but also the granularity of action changes. At the very bottom level, action is usually at the aggregate level, and it's very manual. But as we get closer to predictive and prescriptive analytics, action becomes more granular, more automated, and programmable, to the point that we can actually take automatic actions at the level of individual customers at the right time. Now, what challenges do we face in Google Analytics to achieve such a vision? First of all, there's a huge scale. There are millions of businesses using GA, but this is a manageable problem. This is not a huge challenge because at Google we are good at dealing with scale, so we have this part covered. The real challenge is heterogeneity of data. First of all, that is, there is large variations in quality of data, as well as the type and the distributions of the data that we have to deal with, simply because there are many different types of businesses using GA. And related to that, there is the heterogeneity of businesses. That is, there is a wide range of business objectives and requirements, and these variations really changes the nature of the problem that we have to solve when we think about predictive analytics. Now, to give you a more concrete example, remarketing. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with this concept. This is essentially about retargeting the customers that left your shopping funnel too early, targeting them somewhere else on the web and being able to bring them back to your site in the hopes that they would make a conversion. Now, two big problems in remarketing. First of all, which customers to target? What are the right segments of customers that you should put your marketing budget into? Today, using GA, you can actually create a very complex set of rules to define remarketing lists based on behavioral features that are available on the GA platform. So this provides you a powerful tool, but at the same time, these lists become very complex and still suboptimal. You have to create many such lists to capture different segments of customers. The second problem is what ad creative you want to show to each of these customers or each segment of customers. And this is just a very time-consuming process. So when thinking about data-driven solutions to these problems, for the first problem, we want to predict customer value, and based on that, automatically select and target the best customers. And for the second problem, what we want is to predict. One approach to solving this problem is to predict customer affinities to products or to pieces of content, and based on that, automatically generate a creative for every individual customer. Now, getting into some more detail, for the second solution, we are essentially talking about dynamic remarketing. To explain this, imagine you have your products feed in Google Merchant Center. You have tagged your site with custom variables with GA, and you're using GA to create remarketing lists. Based on this configuration, we can actually use a predictive analytics component, in this case the recommendation engine, to automatically compute similarities between items, between products or pieces of content on your site, based on the data that comes from your own website and from the interactions of all the users on your site. And based on these recommendations, we can automatically populate each ad space for every individual user, what is usually called a dynamic ad. And this is called GA Dynamic Remarketing for retail, and it was actually launched just last week. So you guys can actually check it out. For the second problem, what we want is to build a predictive user model. Given the entire history of all the customers on your site, all the visits that they have had, all the timing between the visits, as well as the outcomes of the visits, whether there was a conversion or not. We want to build a user model that can predict the value of an individual customer given a set of features, a set of behavioral and demographic features for that customer. And in GA we have hundreds of such visit level features and many more user level features. So in doing this, the actual choice of the user model isn't as significant as the set of features that we ultimately feed into the model. And also, what matters is the definition of what we consider value. So let's think about that a little bit more. What is value? And this really depends on the prediction task and the business objectives that we have. So value could be the probability of conversion in the current visit or in the future. Or it can be the expected value of such a conversion. Or even what is these days very commonly talked about, the expected customer lifetime value over the next month, next quarter, or next year. So what we see is that this creates a very high dimensional space of problems to solve. And we are actually looking into all of these. But to give you an example, let's focus on the probability of conversion here. And so So with this type of objective in mind, here's some initial results on how our user models perform. This ROC curve is an average over a large number of profiles that track conversions with Google Analytics. And what this plot is showing you is essentially for every percentage of traffic that we target, that we predict as valuable, what is the percentage of conversions that we are correctly predicting? So you can see here that just by targeting only 20% of traffic, we can already capture over 90% of all conversions. So this is pretty good performance, but one challenge is that not all businesses have conversion tracking. They don't tag their conversions necessarily. In fact, majority of businesses are like that. So what can we do about those? One idea is to generalize, to think about what can we generalize from the data of the businesses that do have conversion tracking, and what can we learn and generalize for the businesses that do not have conversion tracking. So we did such a thing, and we built a generic user model that combines all the learnings, all the models from the businesses that we do have conversions for. And the green line here shows the performance of that model. You can see it's obviously not as good as the specific, the profile-specific user models, but still, it's giving us a pretty good performance. So what is next? Where are we going with this? So what I talked about so far can be viewed as assigning predictive attributes to every customer. So far I talked about assigning a probability of conversion for every customer, or assigning product or content affinities for each customer. So similarly, in order to cover many more use cases and many more business objectives, we can continue to add many more such attributes, such as expected value of conversion, funnel stage prediction, or customer lifetime value, and so on. Furthermore, we can have many more use cases of these attributes. I talked about the use case of programmable ads, but we can similarly use these attributes in optimizing all ad campaigns. We can also provide these attributes via GA API so that businesses can directly use these for on-site optimization and personalization. So that was a very short summary of all the things we have been working on, and we were very excited about. But obviously we don't have all the answers. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear your feedback and your ideas for how we can better help you guys solve the business problems and challenges that you face. So please feel free to go to this link, bit.ly/GA survey, and give us your thoughts and ideas. You can also feel free to email me directly. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more about how the generic user models work, and whether you have specific models for specific types of businesses?
Right. Very good point. So what I showed here was actually an aggregation. Was one giant model that was learned on the data of all these businesses that we have conversion for. So this is a very, very aggregatable, very average model. But your idea is completely valid, that what we really want to do is to aggregate similar businesses together. So businesses that fall into a certain vertical or a certain size, we want to aggregate them and build one model per such
said you rolled out a new program 2 weeks ago. How do you measure the success of this new program that you rolled out?
So you're talking about the GA dynamic?
Yeah, how do you measure the efficacy of it?
Very good question. So we do, so there are various ways of doing so. So first of all, in one stage of things, we work with the historical data that we have in GA to sort of estimate what could be the lift that we can get from such a new system. So that's a very rough evaluation, and the results that I actually showed is based on such a historical data evaluation. Beyond that, we run experiments, live experiments that do A/B testing between a campaign that does use the new system and one campaign that's completely similar to the other one, except for this one change that we're adding to the system. So this A/B testing can tell us that causal relationship, that by adding this new way of doing campaigns, how much lift can we get? And we can actually be causally confident about that. So we do perform these tests regularly, but at the moment I don't have the numbers for those.
I think we have time for one more. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, thank you very much.